The dark waters of Loch Ness stretch across the Scottish Highlands, shrouded in mist and mystery. Nestled within this deep, cold lake lies one of the most enduring legends of all time, the tale of the Loch Ness Monster. Over the years, countless eyewitnesses have sworn to glimpses of something vast and ancient beneath the water's surface. But this story isn't about fuzzy photographs or vague reports. This is about a true encounter, one that left scars, both mental and physical, on those who lived through it. It was the summer of 1954, and the McKenna family had just moved into an old, weathered cottage near the shores of Loch Ness. The house was isolated, a mile away from the nearest village, its windows overlooking the brooding waters of the loch. James McKenna, a writer seeking inspiration in the Highlands solitude, had chosen the location for its tranquility, unaware of the dark secret lying in wait. The first few nights passed without incident, but the sense of unease grew steadily. Mrs. McKenna complained of hearing strange sounds late at night, like wet slithering or the creaking of ancient wood under strain. Dismissing her concerns as wind or the typical sounds of an old house settling, James focused on his writing, though he too felt a subtle, gnawing dread whenever he gazed at the log from his study. One evening, their daughter Lily, a curious 8-year-old with a love for exploring, ran excitedly into the cottage. "Dad, I saw something in the water," she exclaimed. James and his wife smiled indulgently, thinking she had seen a large fish, or perhaps just her imagination running wild. But Lily was insistent. "It was big, Dad. Bigger than our house." Her enthusiasm slowly gave way to frustration when her parents gently dismissed her claims. The next day, a dense fog rolled in, turning the loch into a scene from a nightmare. The water was still, and the air was thick with an unnatural silence. The family decided to take a stroll by the shore to shake off the heavy atmosphere. The fog pressed in around them as they walked, reducing visibility to just a few feet. The loch's surface was like glass, reflecting the fog back in eerie stillness. Suddenly, a rippling broke the silence. A large wave, as if something enormous had just surfaced, spread across the loch, disturbing the mirror-like calm. James stopped in his tracks, staring intently into the fog. "Did you see that?" he whispered, his voice tinged with both awe and fear. Before anyone could respond, a low, rumbling growl reverberated through the mist. It was a sound unlike anything they had ever heard, deep, resonant, almost like the groan of a shipwreck shifting in the depths, but alive. The family huddled closer together, straining their eyes to see what lurked beyond the veil of fog. Then, out of the mist, something began to take shape, a long, serpentine neck rising gracefully from the water, followed by the glimpse of a dark, scaly back, glistening with algae and dripping with tendrils of lakeweed. The creature's head, reminiscent of both a reptile and something more ancient, turned slowly toward the shore, revealing large, unblinking eyes that gleamed with a cold intelligence. Frozen in terror, the McKennas could only watch as the creature's head tilted slightly, studying them. For a moment, it seemed almost curious, its eyes narrowing as if deciding whether they were prey or simply intruders. The creature's mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of sharp, uneven teeth, stained with age and decay. Lily whimpered, breaking the silence, and the creature's demeanor shifted instantly. It emitted a low hiss, the sound vibrating through the fog and sending ripples across the loch. The long neck curled slightly, as though preparing to strike. James snapped out of his trance and grabbed his daughter's hand, yelling at his wife to run. They bolted down the shore, the creature's massive form vanishing back into the water with a splash that echoed like thunder. As they ran, the water seemed to boil behind them, with waves lapping unnaturally at the shore. The rumbling growl continued, as if the creature was following their every move just below the surface. They didn't stop until they reached the cottage, slamming the door shut and locking it behind them. Breathless and shaken, the family sat in silence, the only sound being their ragged breathing and the faint, eerie cry of a bird in the distance. That night, none of them slept. They could all feel it, the creature's presence still lurking in the loch, waiting, watching. After that encounter, the McKenna family left the Highlands, abandoning the cottage and never returning. They never spoke openly of what they saw, but those who knew them said they were never the same. James's writing took a darker turn, filled with themes of isolation, dread, and something monstrous lying just beneath the surface. Locals still talk of the McKenna family's brief stay, adding their story to the many tales of the Loch Ness Monster. Some say what they encountered was merely a large sturgeon or an illusion created by the fog. But those who know the legend well, the old-timers who've lived by the loch their whole lives, say otherwise. They insist that something ancient and malevolent stirs in those dark waters, and those who glimpse it seldom escape unscathed. The fog may lift, and the loch may return to its serene beauty by day, but when night falls, the waters grow black and restless. And if you stand by the shore when the mist rolls in, you might just hear a low rumble rising from the depths, a reminder that some legends are more than mere stories.